What happens when the life you've built stops making sense? When the goals you've been chasing suddenly feel empty, and the identity you've carefully constructed starts to crumble? Today we're exploring one of the most psychologically sophisticated transformation stories. The tale of Cañculā's journey from attachment to detachment. This story has been adapted for modern audiences, based on J.L. Shastri's English translation of the Shiva Purana. The sages were gathered in their sacred circle, and Saunaka's eyes sparkled with the hunger of someone who just tasted something extraordinary. Sutha, your stories absolutely fill me with joy. Every time I hear these ancient tales, my heart just lights up. Please, tell me another one that will deepen our connection to Shiva. You know what I've realized? People can experience all sorts of divine bliss and still remain stuck in their old patterns. But when someone truly absorbs these stories of Shiva, something shifts immediately. They find real freedom. You're truly blessed, and so are these sacred stories that can actually transform people's lives. Sutha's face grew thoughtful, as if he were about to share a precious secret. Saunaka, I'm going to tell you something really profound here, though it's not something we usually share openly. But since you're such a genuine seeker and devoted scholar, you've earned the right to hear this story. Picture a coastal village called Cañculā, the kind of place where moral boundaries had completely dissolved. The people simply lost their way entirely. Men and women lived without any sense of purpose or spiritual direction, caught up in endless cycles of deception, materialism, and broken relationships. They live by corruption and deceit, chasing pleasure without restraint, violent, unfaithful, and dishonest in their ways. They have no understanding of wisdom, self-control, or true integrity. Their minds are crude, and they delight in gossip, slander, and destructive talk. People across all walks of life neglect their responsibilities, consumed instead by greed, indulgence, and harmful actions. The women, too, were morally adrift, hot-tempered, manipulative, and lacking discipline or respect for themselves or others. In this spiritually bankrupt community lived a Brahmin named Binduga. Despite being born into a family dedicated to wisdom and spiritual practice, he'd abandoned all pretense of living consciously. Though blessed with a beautiful, devoted wife named Cañculā, he'd become completely obsessed with a courtesan, squandering his life energy and resources on this destructive passion. For years, Cañculā bore this abandonment with remarkable grace. She remained faithful, hoping her husband would return to his senses. But as time passed and her own vitality demanded expression, the pain of rejection and loneliness became unbearable. Eventually, she too fell from her principles and began secret affairs of her own. One night, Binduga returned home unexpectedly and discovered his wife with her lover. In a rage, he chased away the man and violently confronted Cañculā, beating her whilst hurling accusations and abuse. But Cañculā, having reached her breaking point, fought back with words that cut to the bone. Are you seriously judging me right now? You're out there every single day with that woman, completely abandoning your wife who would have given you everything. My youth, my love, my complete devotion. I'm a young, beautiful woman with real needs and desires. When you cut me off completely and go satisfy yourself elsewhere, what exactly did you think was going to happen? How was I supposed to deal with this loneliness and frustration? Her words hit their target. Binduga realized she was absolutely right, but instead of awakening to his mistakes, he chose an even more twisted path. You know what? You're absolutely right. Look, I've got a proposition that could actually work for both of us. Keep seeing whoever you want, as many men as you like. But here's the deal. Get as much money out of them as possible, give them whatever they want, and just hand over all the cash to me. I need it for my situation, you know? This way, we both get what we need. Cañculā, her heart already broken, and her moral compass shattered, eagerly and happily agreed to this degrading arrangement. For years, this twisted contract continued. Binduga eventually died from his dissolute lifestyle, and his soul fell into hellish states of existence before becoming a restless ghost. Wandering the Vindhya mountains, Cañculā continued her life, enjoying many lovers, growing older, raising her sons, and gradually losing the physical beauty that had been her currency. What had once seemed like liberation had become a prison of emptiness and spiritual numbness. Sometimes grace appears in the most unexpected moments. One day, Cañculā happened to join some relatives on a pilgrimage to the sacred temple of Gokarna. It was probably just a social outing for her, a break from routine, nothing more. After casually taking a ritual bath in the holy pond, more out of custom than devotion, she wandered near a temple, where a learned scholar was giving a discourse on the Shiva Purana. She wasn't particularly seeking spiritual guidance. She was probably just curious about the crowd. But then she heard something that shattered her spiritual numbness. The speaker was describing the karmic consequences for those who misuse their sexuality. How the servants of Yama, the god of death, would inflict terrible tortures on those who lived without moral restraint. The specific images were so vivid and terrifying that Cañculā began trembling with recognition and fear. When the discourse ended and the crowd dispersed, something had awakened within her. For the first time in years, she felt the full weight of her choices. Trembling, she approached the Brahmin scholar and poured out her heart. "Sir, please just listen to the mess I've made of my life, without understanding what I was really doing. I'm hoping that when you hear my story, you'll have some compassion and help me figure out how to get out of this nightmare. I've been living with a completely deluded mind, and I've done some really terrible things. I was so blinded by loneliness and physical desires that I basically spent my whole youth as a prostitute. Today, hearing you talk about spiritual consequences and letting go of worldly attachments, I'm absolutely terrified. God, I'm such an idiot. I was so caught up in momentary worldly pleasures, so addicted to immediate gratification, and I completely ignored any sense of right and wrong. I committed these horrible sins just for fleeting moments of pleasure, and now I'm realizing these choices are going to bring me incredible suffering. I have no idea where this path leads now. My mind has always been focused on selfish, destructive things. Who's going to help me when I have to face the consequences? When my time comes, how am I going to face whatever judgment awaits? How will I handle being dragged away from everything I know? How will I survive whatever punishments are waiting? How will I endure the worst consequences of my actions? I'm completely falling apart here. How can I get through my days peacefully now? How can I sleep at night, knowing what I've done and what might be coming? I'm totally destroyed. I'm burning up with regret. My heart is completely shattered. I'm screwed in every possible way. I've become the worst kind of person. My adverse fate. Life just pushed me down this evil path. It was like I was stubbornly determined to make terrible choices, moving further and further away from anything good that might have brought real happiness. Oh, learned sir, my pain right now is worse than being tortured or thrown off a cliff. What I've done is so bad that it couldn't be fixed even if I spent 100 years trying to purify myself by bathing in Ganga or performing sacrifices or doing every good deed imaginable. What am I supposed to do now? Where can I go? Who can I turn to? I feel like I'm drowning in the consequences of my choices. Is there anyone in this world who can possibly help me? You're like a teacher to me now. You're like a parent to me. I'm putting all my trust in you. I'm in such a desperate place right now. Please help me. Please save me. The intelligent Brahmin, moved by Cañculā's sincere repentance and desperate plea for help, compassionately lifted her up from where she had fallen at his feet. You know, this is where the chapter ends in the text, but for me, it feels like where Cañculā's real story begins. I think about how she must have felt at that moment. I kind of understand, not exactly some of her actions, but the core, outwardly achieving what we want, not understanding what exactly we want, and inwardly restless. Then we finally see clearly after years of numbness, when something breaks through and you suddenly see your life for what it really is, not what you've been telling yourself it is. Her breakdown before the Brahmin feels painfully honest to me. No spiritual posturing, no trying to look good. Just raw terror and desperate honesty. I'm completely falling apart here. That's the cry of someone who's hit bottom and knows it. This story probably suggests something I'm still wrestling with. That it's never too late. That even when we've made a complete mess of things, the moment we face it honestly and ask for help, something shifts. Not because we've earned it, but because grace doesn't work that way. In our next episode, we'll see where this journey of letting go ultimately leads to the conclusion of Cañculā's remarkable transformation. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell. Until next time, keep questioning, keep practicing, and keep dancing with the mystic.